The Rip City Drive.
All right, our next guest is one of my favorites. You can follow him on Twitter at Allbright NFL. He is part of Broncos Country tonight on 850 KOA in Denver. Benjamin Allbright here on the Rip City Drive. Ben, as always, I appreciate your time. Let's start with this, the 49ers' decision to stick with Brock Purdy moving forward. What's your take on that situation?
Well, they did sign Josh Johnson off the Broncos practice squad to one-year deal. Johnson's got plenty of ability as well and spot duty, so it's not just going to be Brock Purdy. Jimmy Garoppolo out until late January, so those two guys pick up the slack. I don't know. Brock Purdy looked good in that game, but once you throw the tape on and you have a defensive coordinator game planning to stop Brock Purdy, that might change a little bit once they figure him out. So good to have Johnson in there, guy who's seen it all, done it all, been in the league forever. I think it's just his third stint with the Niners. If I'm not mistaken, his first stint with the Niners was when Ronald Reagan took office. So it feels like he's been in the league that long.
Ben, word has it that Colorado has found a new football coach. What's it like right there in Colorado right now with Deion?
It's absolute bedlam. It is. I mean, it's one of those things that we knew about it for. We're the flagship for the Broncos and for CU, so we kind of knew about it for about 2 weeks and kind of had to keep our mouth shut about it because Colorado was very, very scared that he was going to back out last minute, kind of deal. But it's bedlam around here. Everybody's excited. It's rejuvenated a one-win college football program that hasn't really been relevant since the early 2000s. I mean, Mike McIntyre made it relevant for a second, but beyond that, it's been a dumpster fire. It's interesting because in this modern era of college football, it really is less about recruiting overall and more about your ability to recruit and navigate the transfer portal and NIL deals. And Colorado had been unwilling to put together an NIL collective until now. Now they got Deion Sanders. They put one together. They put one together, I should say. And now you're looking at a group of people that are able to navigate the transfer portal pretty well. And that's what you're going to see, an influx of transfers. It's kind of interesting. It's going to be kind of a mercenary group, as it were. I think the question is how long Colorado can keep Deion Sanders if he succeeds. You look at what he did at Jackson State, and he just brought in guys that normally would have committed to Ohio State and Alabama and had them down there in the FCS level beating up on future insurance salesmen. That's not going to really fly in the Pac-12 where everybody's a four-star recruit. So the question is, with these coaches he brings in, is there going to be an X's and O's savvy, because they're going to need that to win in the Pac-12.
That's a great point, and we know he can recruit, or at least he's proven that thus far. With your sources, what are you hearing about Deion, the coach, in terms of his ability to take what he knows, his knowledge of the game, and transfer that to the guys that he's going to be coaching? How good of a coach is he with the X's and O's?
Well, that's the question, and so that's the thing. He's kind of surrounded himself. He's bringing in the head coach at Kent State. There is going to be the offensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer is being approached to be on staff on the defensive side of the ball. He's bringing in Tim Brewster, a long-time recruiting and assistant coach. It's done pretty good job. So I think he's surrounding himself with the right people. Certainly looks like that right now. In the end, I think there's a perception that he's going to help get guys to the NFL, and certainly he's got the swagger about that. He's got the motivational ability, and that's a part of it. As long as you have coordinators that have the X's and O's down as a head coach, if you can be the salesman, then you're in pretty good shape, and that's what it looks like they're assembling here, a staff that's going to do that. They're going to bring Deion's kids in, and I think Hunter's going to come with them. We'll see. That's still a little up in the air, but they're going to have a stocked shelf. He addressed the team and flat out told them, hey, look, hit the portal because we're coming and some of you guys won't be here.
Yeah. Ben, curious what you think about this. If the Broncos are looking to make a coaching change, obvious choice out there would be Sean Payton, and I think he might end up being the obvious choice for a lot of teams that are looking for a coach. Where do you think he ends up?
I think he takes one of the Los Angeles jobs. I think both Los Angeles jobs are going to be open at the end of this year. I think Sean McVay is going to retire. He's getting pressure from his wife, and he's newly married. He's a little burned out. I think he's retired. I think Brandon Staley's going to end up getting fired. So I think he's going to have his choice of those two jobs. I think that's what he wants. He just bought a house in Manhattan Beach there. I think he's going to be at the top of everybody's list, but I think in the end, I think he'll choose an LA job. He and Shane Steichen are going to be the two hottest names out there this cycle. Steichen's the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. Steichen and Ben Johnson, who's the OC for the Detroit Lions, those guys probably winding up fighting over the Carolina job. John Gannon, the DC of the Eagles, is going to be one of the hot names. But, I think the Broncos, I think they're going to look for somebody with experience. if they do hire a John Gannon as head coach, it would be contingent on him probably bringing Frank Reich with him as an OC. If they go a different route, you're probably looking at Dan Quinn with Brian Schottenheimer as the OC. Everything is going to be about maximizing Russell Wilson, and that's really going to weed the way their coaching search is tailored.
Hey, Ben, one of the things I appreciate about you is that you're always looking for solutions. So in your assessment of the Broncos, what is the way to solve this, at least moving into next year? And with that, is Russ's struggles a product of the situation around him with the injuries and the lack of coaching, or has he dropped off that much? What's your take on that?
It's all the above. They have an offensive line that features 2 third-string tackles and a backup center. You've got receivers that can't get open, and when they do, they drop the ball. I mean, you're looking at this past game. You had Jerry Jeudy, who's playing at about 80%, and then a whole bunch of guys that were undrafted. Brandon Johnson, Caden Davis, Jalen Virgil, all these receivers are trotting out are undrafted guys, and throwing the kick returner Montrell Washington at 5'8", 170 out there in the slot. Who's not prepared to do that at all either. So, it's just your running backs are 2 guys that were on practice squads on other teams, Marlon Mack and Latavius Murray. Your tight ends are rookie, Greg Dulcich, a block. So it's just a cavalcade of things. You got a ton of stuff going on. Russ is playing hurt. He's playing in an offense that requires a lot of deep developing stuff with nothing in the intermediate short game. So, they switch play callers to Kubiak, and they've incorporated a lot more short stuff, which has helped make them more efficient, but it hasn't exactly led to more points. I mean, they only got 9 points against the Ravens this past week. So, I think it's a combination of all those things. I don't think Russ has fallen off as far as people writing him off like to gleefully celebrate. I think he'll have a bounce back year next year, but I think right now it's just, there's just not one solution because it's everything that's bad.
Ben, curious your thoughts. So we're trying to figure out here whether or not Bo Nix might return to the Ducks. He could have another year. I think it's dependent on where he might get drafted. Do you have any feel for where he might go? Have you heard anything about his draft stock?
Yeah, he's an early day 3 guy. The first 10 picks of the 4th round. Maybe sneaks into day 2, but I doubt it. Especially with Anthony Richardson coming out, he's probably going to get advice to go back from the draft board, and that's probably the direction that it's going to go. He'll go back to school one more year and try to come out in a class that's a little less loaded next year. Heavy at the top with Caleb Williams, but a little less loaded next year.
Hey, Ben, one more question for you. The Titans fired their GM, John Robinson. What are you hearing on that in terms of why they did that? They've had a lot of success recently, but why the decision now?
Well, from the football side of the house, I'll say that there was a lot of hard feelings about the A.J. Brown trade. Mike Vrabel was against it, banging the table not to do it, to sign him the money and bring him back. They traded him. They brought in Treylon Burks, and we saw A.J. Brown basically windmill dunk all over Tennessee this past week, where Treylon Burks caught one ball for 25 yards for a touchdown. So, and he's been largely absent most of the year. So, I think from the football side of the house, there were some hard feelings on that and a couple other personnel decision moves that they've made. Off the field, there's some rumors floating around. I don't want to engage in speculation, but there's some rumors floating around about the Lawfield incident that went on, and that will probably come to light here soon.
One final thing. As a broadcaster, I wanted your take. Did you see the Joe Buck Open last night with all the excitement he had for the Bucks and the Saints?
I didn't. I was doing my show at the time, so I didn't have any access to the audio. I saw the TV, but I didn't hear the audio.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out, because our theory is that maybe one of the suits above said, "Hey, Joe, you should probably add a little more excitement into the broadcast of the Open," and so he had fun with it, and I thought he did it just to entertain Aikman. But you have to go check out the audio. I think it'll give you a good laugh.
Yeah, I'll do that here in the next 30 minutes or so.
All right. Hey, Ben, we appreciate it. You can follow him on Twitter at Allbright NFL. Broncos Country tonight on 850 KOA in Denver. We appreciate it, buddy. Always.
Absolutely, guys. Take care.